Can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Perfect. Yeah, we're just waiting for everybody else to pile in the room.
Yeah, I just talked to Linska. She's taking care of a few last minute details.
You guys have prefab UDAs?
Do you service San Diego?
Not at this time, but I wanted to start doing that.
Okay. Talk to me when you think you might be getting down our way. I've got a project I'd like you to take a look at.
Okay, great. I'll contact you for a coffee break. And
all right, we've tried like heck 6 ways from Sundays to do a prefab, and then the other one that we were thinking about, the Proteus, which is a really good factory built kit home. It doesn't look like it's going to do the job for the client, so
okay,
probably going to be stuck going, well, stuck, not, I didn't mean it that way, but we're probably going to have to go explore that other option, site built.
okay, all right, my pleasure, thanks.
Sure.
I think other people are joining us. Are you already hit the record button, Jeremy, so right, you want to hit it right when we officially start.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone for attending today to our ADU accessory dwelling unit webinar, Fighting for Inflation. We will review 2 types of building options and how to finance your ADU, or if you're really ambitious, how to finance ADUs, plural. Let me introduce you to some of our panel of experts. First, we have Jeremy Dock. He's the president of Golden Age Financial Solutions, and he's bringing this presentation to you today. And Jeremy has helped many seniors obtain a home equity conversion mortgage to finance their ADUs on their primary residence, or to help an adult child or family member build an ADU on their property. Meredith Stowers is from Cross Country Mortgage. She's a loan officer specializing in ADU loans. Linda Bracknell is with Crest Backyard Homes, and she is a professional drone pilot as well. And Raphael is representing our stick-built homes from Plus Home. Welcome, everybody. And we're going to start with Meredith and ask her to review some of the new ADU rules, please. You're muted.
Thank you all for coming. The exciting thing is that housing rules are changing very quickly. And so what we are seeing is a large upzoning, not only in California, but across the nation. In 2017, we haven't built housing pretty much in 20 years. And there's a lot of NIMBYs down at the permit offices going, Joe Bob next door can't build whatever he wants to build. So the way that states and cities and localities are getting around it is a trend called upzoning. And in 2017, the state said, okay, everybody can build 1 ADU in your single family zone property. What is an ADU? Accessory dwelling unit, stands for granny flat. And they continue to upzone over the years so that today, every single owner-occupied single-family home can have a second unit called an SB9 unit. It is a second house, and 1 attached ADU, and a second attached or detached ADU. And these are the state baselines. Some cities are lagging behind and the state is starting to sue them, like Huntington Beach and Elk Grove. Other cities like San Diego, Sacramento, San Jose, and City of LA are going above and beyond and allowing even more. What's the difference between these? An SB9 unit is quite literally a second house. It's a minimum size square foot of 800 square feet, whereas the maximum size of ADUs is 1,200 square foot, but in practice, it's closer to 800 square feet when all is said and done. And there's all kinds of ways that people carve out ADUs over time and SB9 units using their own space as well as adding on. We have 18 new pieces of legislation going through this year. One of the most exciting ones that is likely to pass is the condotization. Families may now condotize their property and sell off ADUs as if it was a condominium. Other states are already doing this. California is adopting this. Also, California is lifting the owner-occupied requirements for junior ADUs, SB9 units, and additional units. So not only you can move away from your home if you decide you don't want to live there after you've built the units, but we believe that that will allow investors to build multiple units just like owner-occupied units. And that's our latest update. We'll keep you posted.
Thanks, Meredith. So now we would like to move forward and have Jeremy Knock go ahead and present his reverse mortgage financing, also known as a home equity conversion mortgage presentation.
I thought Let's Go was going first. We always said ladies first.
Oh, okay, well, let's do that.
Okay, so then let me share the screen with you because I believe a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Even so, so you guys heard all the exciting news, right? About am I able to share? Yeah, okay. That is a good screen. So you probably now want to know, sharing my screen, let me make it a little bit bigger. What type of ADUs can you actually build? And this is, we want to kind of educate you and want to get your juices flowing. What can you do? Because we're always talking about probably pricing, timing, and financing, right? And that's the event all about. So I think everybody can see my slides now. So I am part of Crest Backyard Homes, and thanks for joining us. I'm also hold a real estate broker license. So if you guys want to find a property with ADU potential, please give us a shot. So otherwise, we also do have educational events, and check out our website, Crest Backyard Homes. All right, I do the feasibility studies and project management over at Crest Backyard Homes, and we are specialized in manufactured housing. So, but how does the saying always go? Behind every great man is a great woman. In this case, in our case, is behind every great woman, there are two men. And these two men have 40 years of experience together. And John Aronson, the founder, who was actually instrumental of getting the first ADU built with Silvercrest, and this is our manufacturer that actually builds the house, and Tim Hips, who heads up all our home ordering, installation, and delivery. So I just want to make the difference, or explain the difference between HUD manufactured versus modular, because there's still a little bit confusion about that, because the HUD manufactured homes are built, as it said, to HUD standards, and the modular ADU is treated just like a stick built. So you still will have all the inspections a regular stick built home will have. On the other hand, the manufactured house, the house is already approved, so you can skip the sign off on obviously plumbing, electrical, heat and air, and the other two inspections you have to go through. So just by that, you will save a lot of time. So when it comes to the different foundations, you can see the modular needs to be set up on a foundation where the HUD manufactured home has an approved foundation system, and it is usually steel and pads. Okay, So, and this is Crest Backyard Homes, as you guys can see. It is a manufactured home. And people always think about manufactured home, they think like the old mobile home. But if you look at the picture and the floor plans and the layout, it's very comparable to any stick-built home. And they have come, you know, a long ways. They feature islands, they feature stainless steel appliances. As you guys can see, notice probably it even has dual color kitchen. You guys can see the kitchen cabinets are white and then the bottom ones are dark, right? And there is a great room. You can see high windows. So with this, I just wanted to share with you that you can do actually a lot of upgrades, customizations, and you also can do some aftermarket items. As you guys can see in this kitchen, for example, here on the left side, you don't see a refrigerator because the refrigerator actually was put under the counter, okay? Then if you don't like a bathtub with a manufactured home, you can also be do a walk-in shower, okay? So that's kind of sometimes a misconception that you get a box delivered. So definitely not here at Crest Backyard Homes. And it has all the modern amenities and has as design options. So there are colors to choose from, different carpet, different linoleums, or even laminate flooring, different kitchen color cabinets, and so on. So I really encourage you to check out our meetup and website for tours or special events when we have a delivery going on. So, and this is a very good example. This is obviously the ideal version of rolling in. So there are two ways of getting a manufactured home in, right? You roll it in, or no, you're not using a helicopter, you're using a crane, okay? So, or you crane one in. So as you can see on this here, this already has practically a driveway and a separate entry, right? I'm trying to get my pointer going so I can point to certain things. I think right here, right? So this is obviously the ideal spot. And there it is. And if you look from here, that they added a concrete pad and more concrete driveway, right? So sometimes it's also pretty important, whatever is around the house. It's like when you build a stick built. I mean, you're not just building a house. You need stairs to it. You need a driveway. You need a walkway. You need a lot of different things. So, and that just shows you how there was a little tiny retaining wall built here, right? So, and that was shortly after the delivery of and you guys can see there's still the stairs sitting here. So sometimes you get temporary stairs delivered. So I'm not going to fly all the way around. Okay, so here it is, before and after. Okay, now what do you do if you don't, or if you're not able to simply roll it in? Okay, and for heaven's sake, if you have a lot of wires, a tight cul-de-sac, and a tight driveway. But I'm always super impressed about our crane operators, our installation crew, our drivers. And that's when I was telling you guys, with 40 years experience or 80 years combined, it has a certain success rate. There is no guessing. Obviously, as you guys can see here, it's not going to be a guessing game, right? And let's see if I get you the time lapse, how easy it is to, on the left-hand side, we're rolling in the manufactured houses being delivered. And this is one of our base models. And sometimes I like to just tell people if what is kind of, what can they do around 200,000, right? So they can practically get a house, see, turns around, and 20 minutes later, you have a house in your backyard. And remember that 20 minutes later, right? So that is obviously one of the big advantages of having a manufactured home delivered, because you practically just drop it in your backyard. And so the home, to actually get the home built, probably just takes around 2 months. So, but as same as in stick built, you're still going to have, I'm trying to get that virtual tour going here, but we're going to skip it. So this is one of the basic models. I'm multitasking, by the way. There are people that I'm omitting because I'm the host now. And so isn't it beautiful? Stainless steel, laminate flooring, custom blinds, crown molding, right? And you have shower doors, walk-in shower. So, but I always say I like romantic walks to the bank. And obviously at some point, we got to talk about money, right? I already threw a number out around 200,000, but for some people, they love their family, even their mother-in-law, father-in-law, and have them live close by is priceless. But for those people who put a price tag on family, let me help you out with a manufactured versus a stick-built home. Obviously, the costs are going to be different, right? So you save probably 20%, but I just went very basic, 325,000 versus 250,000. The rent will be the same because the rent is practically based on square footage, location, and if it has a little patio, if you allow pets and everything equal, your property tax alone will be more. 3,000, let's call it 3,600, and the property tax on manufactured is 2,750. Cash flow, and it will take about 9 years to recoup your 250,000. But then if you talk about the stick build, it will take you 12 years or 16 years if you don't pay cash and you have to take a HELOC out. And I can't wait for Meredith's presentation to really see that even if you have to take a HELOC off, look, you still got between a 6 and 8% return on your money. I would do this all day long. Obviously, manufactured, you have a 10 or nearly 11% return. So there's some additional cost, obviously, stick-built house. So why should I buy a manufactured home? Okay, it's usually a fixed price, no hidden fees, and no surprises, right? Time and money savings. And if you do like our planet, then quality control of fit and finish, a safer working environment, materials protected from the elements, efficiency, and definitely less waste. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I opened your eyes to manufactured houses. And if you're on this presentation and you mention YouTube webinar, I will throw in a free consultation for you guys. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for doing that, Lenska. That's great. So let's just stick to builders now, and we will have a Q&A at the end for everyone in the chat room. And then I know, thank you, you're very impressive for multitasking there. So Raphael, if you see anybody pop up in your presentation that's joining us a little late, please just let them in. Okay. So let's have Raphael show our other builder option.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, guys. Thank you for the invitation. Denise, Meredith, great presentation, Lenska. I'm here representing the Stick Build Construction. I'm the owner. My name is Rafael Pozas. I'm the owner and founder of Plus Home Housing Solutions. And I'm going to talk about a case. Let's go to our agenda. There you go. Talk about myself. How do I end up doing the ADUs, the types of ADUs, and one specific case. In 2017, when the ADU laws started here in California, basically what happened, the state gave the homeowners the supply to the task to supply the housing inventory, the housing in California. But the homeowners, they're not experts, they're not builders, and they know how to do it. But then I decided to create Plus Home to help the homeowners to build all the ADUs. So I did that. I built a couple of units. I saw my clients have a great investment. And I talked to myself, say, why, if I'm benefit other people to do that, I should build for myself. So in 2022, when the state approved the SB 9 law, I team up with Alex Olson, with a friend with finance expertise, finance background. We team up and create Age09 Development to purchase the houses and add ADUs development. So I've been doing this for a while. For Age09, we're ready to start our own. We purchased the lot last year. We got the plans to start the construction for a SB 9 unit in North Ridge, Los Angeles. We're very excited about that. So my background, I'm a real estate developer for over 20 years. Also a general contractor. I'm a second generation builder. My father started a construction business and real estate development back in the 70s. And I learned everything I know from him. And then I became a real estate professor. And this is what I love to do. Well, there's several types of ADUs, and I'm gonna just describe real quick the most common ones. Okay, the first one is what we call detached ADU. Detached ADU is an ADU, is a backyard house detached from the existing house. So that basically, this is what it is. If you have a big lot and you can build a house, you have to follow a few rules of 10 feet setback from existing structure, 4 feet setbacks, rear and side setbacks, if you up to 800 square feet. And then if you have enough space for that, you can do detached. Attached, obviously, is when you have some limitations with the lot and you can build an attached unit attached to the existing house. Okay. Also, we have what we call garage conversion. You convert a garage into a unit. You can do this. If it's a one-car garage, you can do a studio. If it's a two-car garage, you can do a one-bedroom. And sometimes with a big garage, a bigger garage, you can do more. The other option is above garage. The name it explains itself when you build above the garage. And last but not least, junior ADU. Junior ADU are existing structure, existing space in your house that you can convert to what we call junior ADU. Junior ADU can be up to 500 square feet, okay, and needs a separate entrance, and that's basically what it is. I had a chance already to build all of those types, and each one I can guarantee there's his own challenges, and today, because I could do a presentation about each one, but because there's so many things that we have to take care of it. But today I'm going to talk about one specific, the above garage project in Fullerton. This is the house. Above garage, like I said, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 779 square feet. In Fullerton, the investment is $250,000, but also because we work above the garage, and we when we did the demo, when we did the reinforced the footings, we had to redo the garage. So because of that, the homeowner invest another $100K to he's a music professor, and he did a nice music studio with the garage. And the construction was about 6 months. One thing that it's important to mention, some cities require that you match the ADU with the house. The city of Fullerton is super picky with that. I just give you an example. Initially, the idea was to do sliding doors for the ADU, and because we have these windows that you see in the picture, they ask us to do French doors to match the house. French doors, as you know, it's a little more expensive. So this was the unexpected, but we had to do it, and we did it. Some cities, like I said, it's mandatory, but others are flexible. But also a very important thing is when you do an ADU, because you're adding value to the property, is that you think the property as a whole, not only the new unit you're building. You have to integrate the unit, the ADU with the house, and make a good blend with a nice landscape. That's very important, and that we believe that makes a big difference in the near future with a lot of new ADUs in the market. Show you some pictures. The garage when we start the demolition, and the picture on the right is the alley. Alleys are fantastic for ADUs for 2 reasons. First of all, it gives a lot of privacy for the homeowners, because the ADU entrance will be totally separate from the house. And the second thing is that most of the sewer lines run through the alley. So when you do a sewer line investigation, sometimes you have to trench all the way to the front, and this could cost a lot of money. And when you have a sewer line in the alley, it will be a lot less. And that's exactly what we did on this one. So pictures of the excavation and the footings, the reinforced that we did to sustain the second floor. We had to dig underneath the garage. This is the exterior stairs. And the picture on the left is trenching the sub panel from the ADU to the panel of the house. Normally, the existing house will have a 200 amp meter panel that you connect with a 100 amp sub panel on the ADU. You can ask to have separate meter, but the most common and more affordable is to do that. Okay. This is the rebars after the trenching and the excavation. This is the framing part of it. You can see the stairs on the right hand. To do exterior stairs for above garage, you need at least 8 feet setback. And why is that? It's because 4 feet setback and plus another 4 feet for the stairs. So if you don't have 8 feet and you want to do above garage, we have to do either from the front or the back, and it will impact the architecture design of the house. Sometimes it's doable, but you have to be careful when you change the original architecture concept of the house. This is the stucco. When I start to work on this project, my clients asked the balcony because they wanted to see the Disneyland fireworks from that. which is super close, and because there was cables, overhead cables, as you see there, we have to relocate from overhead to underground. So we did it, and it was super excited to see my clients when we complete the project, look in the fireworks and text me that they were doing that. So priceless. This is the before and after. Still the cables there. If you go to the left picture, on the end of the picture, you can see half of the door. That door is is when we build the exterior stairs, we end up having a huge storage for the existing house underneath the stairs. So this is something that we don't plan, at the pleasant surprises. This is the landscape. I think I mentioned before, but when you build a new house, a new ADU, our biggest concern is to integrate the new house with the existing in a way that we are, in other words, the way you set up tells a lot about the value of the property in the future. So you have to make sure you do it right. If it's for a rental and you want to separate one house from another, you have to think in one route. If it's a guest house that you want to integrate for a caregiver or for a caregiver, you want to make sure you have access from both. If it's a guest house that will become a rental in the future, you might use natural fences, something easy to demo in the future and convert it. So you have to, when we do our first site inspection, we want to know what's the story about the ADU, how this ADU thing started in the family, and what is the purpose for that. So we have to think about that to give the solution. This is the exterior stairs. The tenants of this house, they only have access to the upper level. So and the homeowners stay with the first level. You can see the storage door now with this picture a little better. And the reason, I'm not sure, the reason you see two condensers for the mini split here, it's because the studio and the garage is built to homeowners, and the mini splits on a ADU, it's for the tenants. So they want to separate the HVAC bill from their house to the tenant. So we put one condenser for the music studio in the garage and another for the ADU. This is the unit inside, the living room. And it's a coincidence, Lenska, but our cabinets are super similar. I saw your presentation. This is the kitchen. This is the washer and dryer, all in, not stack. This is the shower. We can customize based on the needs of our clients. But if it's a rental, this unit now is renting for $2,000, 500 something square feet. There's tenants already there, 500 something plus the balcony, which is 779. If you build an ADU for rental income, you have ways to fit in your budget, and one of ways to do it in the bathroom especially is the acrylic tub with the shower, because if you want to do tile, it would be nice, but it costs more. So we work with our client budget to help them achieve their goals. This is the bedroom with the mini split unit. This is the balcony without the cables. And because we built the balcony, we end up having a nice cover for the music studio on the right picture. And this is the before and after. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. I hope I help, talk about this. And I'm available for any questions after that.
Thanks, Rafael. Appreciate that. That was really beautiful ADUs, both of you, Lenska and Rafael. So let's have Meredith and Jeremy let you know how to pay for it. I think we'll let Meredith go first since Jeremy says ladies first.
Thank you, guys. Well, that's the inevitable question that we all face with these types of things. And Jeremy and I collaborate on how to finance them. So typically what we see is, now we don't give referral fees, we don't get referral fees. And we're the bank, we're on the hook for your project. So typically what we see is for an attached ADU, like a garage conversion or part of the existing structure, is about 100,000, sometimes more, sometimes less. And a detached, whereas a detached unit really starts in Southern California, an absolute baseline, no frills, no tile, actually goes as low as 175,000. More often it's about 200,000 to 250,000. In the Bay Area, we see really 250,000 is the baseline because the cost of labor is just so much higher. So it depends. And that's because when you take a look, this is a great example of a perfect ADU potential garage conversion. You'll see that from what the contractors tell us, that the foundations and footings are about the same, and so are the roof and rooftops, whereas the detached units are usually built very, very poorly. And then you talk about inflation. So at today's high interest rates, typically what we see is every 100,000 you spend, it's about $600 a month, very affordable. And next year when rates are down, you'll see them be as low as $450 a month. And look at those rents. If the biggest source of inflation is not eggs, it is rental income. And my recommendation is, don't look at apartments, don't look at Rentometer, look at Zillow, exclude apartments, and take a look at what the rents are in your area. Also, consider optimizing your design for rent. So if you have enough space for a 2-bedroom, look at the rents on a 1-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom. Oftentimes we see that 2 1-bedrooms or side by side have more rental income than a 2-bedroom unit. So lots of ways to take a look at that. How do you pay for this? Well, loans are tools. So our goal in helping you build the property is, okay, good, I'm sharing, is a construction loan. And if we do this right, we are financing 100% of the cost. There's no down payments, et cetera. And during this inflationary period, you also have a reasonable payment or no payment. When we're done with construction, sometimes we give you a classic refinance, complimentary refinance into a classic low 30-year fixed rate, oftentimes on the second mortgage or alternative loans. And we have a lifetime guarantee. Once you do a loan with us, we offer a complimentary refinance for any reason on the loan. So loan options on owner-occupied properties, at least with me, is most people are not doing a cash out refinance. Most people are using a home equity line of credit. We can go up to 95% of current value with a HELOC, which is a second mortgage. It is literally, quite literally, like a credit card on your property. You only pay on what you use and is interest only. We also have a construction HELOC. That's if you don't have any equity. And this is what's unique about what I do is we are specialists in renovation and construction lending for people who don't have equity. This is very different. If you go to a Wells Fargo or a credit union, they're going to say, I'm sorry, you don't have enough equity, you're not qualified. In fact, they don't have the loan available. What's different about construction and renovation lending is we send the appraiser out with the pretty architectural designs, the floor plan, and the contractor bid. And he says, oh, I see what you're going to do with this garage or whatever. When you add the ADU, the house will be worth more. And that's the number that construction loans are based on. So let's say this house is currently worth $700,000, right? Well, if we did a HELOC or refinance, we can only, maybe only up to 80%. That doesn't really give us the money to build. But when we lend, let's say the appraiser gives a lowball value of 800,000, that, because we can use that, we can go up to 90% of that future value. That gives us the cash available. Now, one of the reasons why you want to get pre-approved right up front before you spend any money is because the mortgage guidelines don't match with the permit guidelines. And that includes the appraiser guidelines. When I have seen a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot ADU given a $0 value by an appraiser. When that started happening, we partnered up with the Appraisal Institute, and we are the only lenders who will have trained appraisers. Let me give you an example. I have some investors in Burbank. They bought a house for $1.3 million, added a $200,000 ADU. An average appraiser gave it a value of only $1.4 million, less than 50% of the value of the ADU. My appraiser gave that same house an ADU a value of $1.9 million. So big difference when it comes to appraisers. For rental properties, we also have the cash out refinance. We do have a HELOC up to 75% loan to value, and we also have a construction bridge loan. These are the loans that my professional fix and flippers use, and they're a little more complicated, but they're very doable. Jeremy's going to talk about the home equity conversion mortgage, but overall, this is the timeline you want to look at. We are here. You want to get pre-approved so you know how much budget you have to build, and then the builders are going to design to that budget. You can expect about 3 months for the design process and 6 months for the permits. This costs about $10,000. This can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000. And then construction is really where you spend most of your funds. So typically there's 2 strategies. If you use a HELOC, you can get pre-approved for the HELOC. And if you spend $10,000 on designs, it's about $80 a month at today's rates. Rates are coming down. Fannie Mae is officially projecting that will be at 4.3% in about 8 months. A couple months ago, purchase rates were at 8.5%. They're already down to about 6.6% today. So over time, that monthly payment is going to drop from $80 a month here to about $42 a month here. The second strategy that's very valid is you use cash during this period, and then you do the loan closer to the time of construction. Jeremy's going to talk about a third option, which is another terrific idea. While you're at it, you got guys stomping through your yard. Work on a master plan for your home. Build in fixed deferred maintenance. If you're retiring, go ahead and do that 50-year roof. The last thing you want to do at age 90 is replace your roof. My recommendation is, if you don't have to do a separate meter for the solar or for the ADU, add solar. I have one retiree who did that. You increase the rent to factor in utilities. And my retiree tells me that he jokes with everybody that his renter is now paying his utilities. And then he went out and bought an electric vehicle, and now he jokes that his renters are paying his gas too. He thinks that's very funny. ADUs for families. Let's say mom and dad, there's no standalone ADU loan, and construction loans are not separate. They're always attached to that real estate as a first or second mortgage. So we can title this together as tenants in common. So let's say mom and dad own the house and all of the land, and Junior wants to add an ADU, but his siblings are concerned that he's going to sort of take over the house. What they can do is go on as tenants in common and do a second mortgage. So mom and dad continue to own the house and all of the land, and Junior owns his ADU. And when the parents pass away, they can bequeath their land and all of the house to equally among siblings, but junior still retains control of the ADU. Next year, as I mentioned, the new laws will allow them to sell off the condo to junior, and junior will own his own property. While we're on the slide, property taxes are done similarly. The house and the land are not assessed separately. They continue to be assessed at the same basis points. Junior's ADU, though, is assessed at the new amount. Tax assessors will tell you to typically multiply the construction budget times 1% and then divide by 12 to get your monthly payment. I don't usually see it that high. I usually see about $100 a month on a regular build. On larger builds, about $150 a month. The homeowner's insurance, the ADU is insured as part of the primary house. It's about an extra $20 a month. The ADU grant is currently on hold. I'm proud to say that 90% of the grant recipients were our clients. We'll keep you posted on that. Tips and tricks: run the numbers first and figure it out. You will get out a spreadsheet like this and get your questions answered so you have the confidence. This won't make sense now, but you'll have the confidence to move forward. So I'm very hard to reach by phone, I'll be honest. I encourage you to schedule time on my calendar. I will put this in the chat room and we can go from there and you can schedule time. That's all I have. You guys are welcome to continue. Jeremy, you want to talk about the HECM loans?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Meredith. That was an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
And yeah, like she mentioned, we do refer back and forth. She gets all of our traditional and forward mortgages, all the construction stuff. And yeah, we handle the reverse side. So now I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Okay, so this is an overview of the HECM loan. And for those that don't know, a HECM loan stands for a home equity conversion mortgage. And so what we're going to do with this is we're going to walk through the different types of financing that Meredith already discussed. We're going to touch on them briefly. The fact is this loan that I'm going to talk about, this HECM loan, is not for everybody. Not everybody gets this. And there's a reason why that we'll get to in just a second. However, if you can get to it, I think it's a really good one to use. First of all, I want to look at cash. My opinion, cash is your nest egg. As soon as you spend your cash, what ends up happening is you end up basically eliminating your safety net. So if you have unexpected expenses later in life when you're retired, you're going to end up having no extra lifeline. So you're going to need to draw on something like your home's equity. You also have, if you spend your cash, you have lost opportunity cost. What if you find another opportunity later and you spent all of your cash? Then you're going to have to go hat in hand and ask for financing somewhere. And we all know, anyone that's done business for any length of time knows how challenging it is to put together big chunks of money at any point, let alone when you're retired. So keep that in mind if you're considering using cash. Now, it can be a perfect solution to cover a short-term gap, but I always recommend, if you have the capacity of using financing, hold on to your cash. Next, the HECM, the home equity conversion mortgage versus the traditional HELOC. Now, when you're working, you have earned income, you have a much higher income than when you're retired and you're on a fixed income. And so this is a comparison, not necessarily to say one is better than the other. It's simply to look at, when you're retired and on a fixed income, which one is actually more safe and stable as a senior when you're building an ADU. And the reason I bring that up is because back in 2008 and 2009, when the market crashed, and more recently when COVID happened, the people that had these HELOCs, a lot of times they were getting reduced or revoked. And so we had clients that were midstream in the middle of building an ADU, and all of a sudden the HELOC got shut off on them. Well, I'll go over the reason why that's kind of scary, and I think it's pretty apparent. It's, if you're in the middle of construction and you run out of funding, you end up in what Meredith likes to refer to as the black hole of building. Because if you have a project that's not completed, no lender will lend on it because you have an unfinished construction zone going on. So running out of money is basically a project stopper. So with the traditional HELOC, you have a set borrow amount. You don't get to increase it without refinancing. like I mentioned, the lender can reduce or revoke it at any time. So if there's a market downturn, or if they pull a soft pull on your credit and they just feel like you have too much credit on your credit report, or just the general turmoil, like I said, with COVID, they can reduce those lines or revoke them. It's in every single HELOC contract. Now, with the HECM loan, it's also structured as a line of credit. The difference, though, is the unused portion of the line actually grows over time. So if you take that out for security reasons to say, hey, I want to draw on this as I'm building my ADU, the portion that you're not using will actually grow over time. And that's regardless of the value of the home. And that is really important, because if we're looking at rates going up, everyone wants to be positive and just hope that home values keep going up. We all do. But if home values start to go down, this is a critical step, because if the home value goes down, it does not matter to the HECM line of credit. The available portion will still grow over time. And why is that? It's because it's an FHA insured loan. So because it's FHA insured, that means the lender can never reduce nor revoke your line of credit, and it's going to continue to grow over time regardless of the value of your home. Next, I want to walk through the second mortgage versus a HECM. And so this scenario, we have a paid off house. And if you look at doing, say, a cash out refi, you build an ADU, and you start with a $400,000 mortgage balance. Now, that's a huge ADU. We all know that. So when I ran these numbers, the 30-year fix was at 6.966. They're higher than that now. The client has 780 FICO, but you have to have a maximum of 42% debt ratios and a 50% loan to value. So why does that matter? Well, when you're working and receiving earned income, your income is higher. So it's easier to hit those 42% max debt ratios. With a reverse mortgage or a HECM loan, you do not have debt ratio requirements. So if you have to make a payment of $2,321 a month, which is what that principal and interest payment comes out to on that cash out refi, in order to build that ADU, you have to start making that payment 30 to maybe 45 days after you fund that loan. Now, I think anyone that's looked into the ADU market can tell you it's somewhere between 6 and 8 months just to get your permits. So you fund that loan, and now you're paying 6 to 8 months in payments, and then it's going to be another 6 to 12 months to complete your project. So you could be looking at 18 months making payments on that mortgage before you actually get a renter in there and start receiving one rent check. And so if you're retired and living on a fixed income, that could potentially affect your cash flow a lot, especially if there's any delays. So if you have a rental income in that scenario and a payment that you have to service of $2,321, you have a net cash flow of $679 a month. And that's fine. That's a decent cash flow. But if you use a HECM loans do not have monthly payments. There's no payment required, not before, not during, or after construction of the ADU. So what does that mean? That means that gives you a net cash flow of $3,000 a month. And so if your purpose of doing this is in retirement to increase your cash flow to the max it can be, this is the solution. So a couple of key points about the HECM loan. So like I said, there's no payment before, during, or after any construction or any use of this loan. Now, the loan does have to be completed on your primary residence. However, you can use the funds anywhere. So you can use these funds on your primary residence to build an ADU there. Or I believe it was Lenska said, if you get bold, you can build multiple ADUs. And so you could build one on your primary residence and you could build one on your rental property, or you might be able to build multiple ones on your rental property. The caveat is, to get this loan, you have to be at least 62 or older. Now, you can be married and have one of the spouses be under 62, but at least one of you has to be 62 or older. So when it comes to planning the HECM loan, we always recommend that you start the loan process immediately when you're doing the ADU idea and design phase. Right when you get the idea to say, hey, I want to build an ADU, it's a critical step, because you want to know how much money you actually have when you start putting pencil to paper to figure out what exactly I can build when I'm building an ADU. And so you want to plan for how much money the ADU is going to get, or ADU is going to cost. You want to plan for the remaining line of credit after you pay for the ADU, because then you can start to think in terms of thinking bigger, like Meredith recommended. You can look at a second or possibly a third ADU build, and you can look at when you're going to be to start those projects. So details of the HECM loan. It's got to be on your primary residence, like I said. When you establish how much you can qualify for, we're going to do an appraisal based on today's current value of your primary residence. The older you are, the more accessibility you have in your reverse mortgage or HECM loan. Obviously, the younger you are, that's the converse, but you have to be at least 62 to get these. We do have access to some proprietary reverse mortgages that you can be 55 and older, but we're not going to dive too deep into those. But I just want you to know, if you're under 62 and thinking, boy, I wish I could have one of these loans, we do have some accessibility to us if you're over 55. The funds can be used absolutely anywhere, and there's no fund control manager either. That's another key point. So if you want to be in charge of your own money, then this is possibly the loan for you. And like I said, there's no payment required before, during, or after this loan. So what does the strategy for this thing look like? You build this on your primary residence. You start looking at the line of credit for use later. If you look on the right side of your screen, we'll walk through that in just a second, but I just want to start to think about in terms of when you're retiring, you want to look at what your cash flow needs are. And you want to look at, am I already retired or am I about to? Because the number one hindrance to retirement, according to financial planners, is a mortgage payment. And so if you can do a reverse mortgage or a HECM loan and get rid of that monthly payment, you could possibly retire sooner. You have to look at, when you're retiring, you have to look at your current cash burn rate, because that's going to determine when you can retire and how long you can actually survive without making any more money. You can use these loans to delay Social Security, which can be, well, 62, you're going to get 8% a year up until 67 and a half now, or 66 and a half. And so that could be an additional 32% to your income for your Social Security if you have a way to actually delay taking that Social Security. And in fact, if you delay till you're 70, you get even more money. So if you want to retire at a point where it makes sense for you physically before it might make sense for you financially, you can look at one of these solutions to fill in any of those retirement gaps that you might hit, so that you can actually retire while you're still young enough and able-bodied enough to go do the things we all want to do in retirement. So I want to run through this scenario real quick. So this, on the right-hand side, this graph you see, the scenario, the client was 62 years old. They had a $765,000 house that they had paid off free and clear. They wanted to build an ADU, and the ADU was about $180,000. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing the ADU purchase basically be able to write the check for the ADU of $180,000. And they have a remaining line of credit available to them of $210,000 at the close of the loan. So not only do they get to write the check for the $180,000, they don't have to make a mortgage payment the whole time that the ADU is being built. As soon as the ADU is finished being built, they get to put a renter in there and they get the cash flow. And I believe they were going to rent that place for about $2,000 a month. So the net cash flow on that ADU is now $2,000 a month. And then on top of that, they have this $210,000 line of credit. They didn't have any other immediate needs, because the $2,000 a month that they were going to bring in from that ADU was going to cover the shortfall that they had, that they knew they were going to experience later. Remember, these folks are 62 here at this retirement age. If you fast forward 10 years down the road, they had an additional $315,000 available to them in that line of credit, because remember, the unused portion of the line grows over time in availability to them. Well, now here's where it gets really interesting. This client was now 82 years old in this scenario. And that's a really important number, because at 82, the average person is going to start needing help doing 3 of the 5 major things. They're going to need help eating, bathing, and getting dressed. Not to mention the things like going to the store, preparing medications. They're going to need those helps. And so those costs start to rise astronomically the more that you are physically dependent on someone else to take care of you. And so at this point, being 82 years old, the client now has had an ADU in their backyard for 20 years. At this point, 20 years down the road, I'm sure that the rent is going to be significantly higher than $2,000 a month. And then on top of that, they have this available line of credit that's nearly $500,000 that they can start to draw on strategically, so that they can actually use that money to age in place and pay for in-home care costs. They can also use that ADU. They could house that in-home care provider, stop collecting the ADU rent, but simply pay the difference to them using the funds from the line of credit. But by putting an in-home care provider in-house, you significantly reduce the outgo cost that you have to pay to have them help you. So there's a lot of planning involved in this. And so one of the things I always suggest, I think John mentioned it early on, and Lenska talked about it briefly as well. When you're planning ADUs, we always suggest, think in terms of 10 years and 20 years down the road. How are you going to use this thing? And think about terms of ADA compliance. wider hallways, wider doorways, walk-in baths, walk-in showers. Those kinds of things make a huge difference in the long-term planning, along with positioning of your ADU, not just for the potential of maybe adding another ADU in the future, but also adding maybe things like a wheelchair ramp, so you actually have access to it if you're not on flat ground. So keep those things in mind when you're planning this. So a couple of different uses for the ADU. We just talked about this a little bit. Putting an in-home care provider in there can significantly reduce your care costs. But having the ADU can help you with cash flow so that you can do things like travel, go see the grandkids, participate in some of the hobbies that you pushed aside for the time that you took to raise a family and have a career. We've had clients use the reverse mortgage as a way to fund their medication when their medication costs jumped. We had a client that her medication went from $100 a month to $280 a month. And when she went in to go to the pharmacy to pick her medication up, she had to leave because she couldn't afford it. We actually did a reverse mortgage for her. We got her about $90,000 in a line of credit. She never had to worry about leaving that pharmacy without her medication ever again. We discussed reducing the healthcare costs. We discussed making this thing ADA accessible. I think that's a critical step. It's also brand new construction. So you think, hey, I could go live in a brand new house built in 2023 or 2024. It's possibly going to have solar on it. It's going to have all the neatest gizmos, gadgets, all the fun stuff, right? It's going to be brand new and beautiful with all the modern conveniences, fast internet, beautiful windows. It's going to be quiet. And you could go move in there and rent out the larger main house and actually collect an even bigger rent to supplement more of your cash flow. So there's another idea for you. So you use this to age in place. You use this to take care for you, your spouse, both of you. And if one of you predeceases the other, you get to keep the reverse mortgage. And what happens with the reverse mortgage is the both of you can actually live in that home until the last person on the loan actually passes away or moves out without ever having to make a mortgage payment ever again. So what does that do? That frees up cash to do things like traveling now versus traveling later. And I bring that up because of things like accessibility and capability. I had a client who was 70 years old. His wife was 61. She was going to work until she retired at 66. He was going to basically stay retired until he was 75. Then they were going to go buy a motorhome and drive around the US. And I asked him, I said, well, what if we could do this for you? You could get rid of your mortgage payment. Your wife could retire today and you guys could go travel around in your motorhome for the rest of your, the rest of the time that you're healthy enough to do it. And he said, wow, that sounds neat, but I don't know. And I said, one question, I said, when do you think it's going to be easier to travel, when you're 70 today or 75? And he goes, 70, it was harder. It was harder at 70 than it was at 65, and it's not going to get any easier. So he called us back about 2 days later. He said, let's go. They took cash out and bought an RV, and they've been driving around the US in their motorhome ever since, just loving their retired life. These are the kinds of things that help make people's dreams come true when they're retired. So you can use it for whatever you want. Build the ADU, buy a boat, buy an RV, go on a cruise, take the grandkids on a cruise. You can use this thing really for whatever you want. And if you choose to build the ADU, you can supplement those things for the rest of your life. On top of that, you can actually build legacy portfolio properties for your children or your grandchildren. So if you have an adult child that has a home, you could build an ADU on their home and help them with their cash flow right now while you're alive, basically pre-funding their inheritance, but you actually get to see what your legacy does for them while you're alive, rather than waiting until you pass away before you pass on your money. So what does this do with legacy planning? It allows you to increase the potential value for your own property. So when you pass it on to your heirs, there's an increased value there. You can increase the equity in your children's property if you build an ADU there. You can pass on generational wealth. You can create wealth in perpetuity with these ADUs and combining these loans. You can pay for things like college for the kids or the grandkids. You can do whatever you want with this money. So there's all sorts of different ADU possibilities. We know you can do the attached, the detached. These are just some ideas to combine it, building one detached ADU on your primary, building one attached and one detached to increase your cash flow, because we know that, like Meredith said, the attached stuff is considerably cheaper than the detached stuff. So if you can do, say, a garage conversion for around $100,000 and then build a detached one for $250,000, you could end up with $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in rents by spending $350 rather than just building one big ADU in your backyard. If you've got rental properties, you can look at building multiple ADUs with the duplexes. Really, the sky is the limit. It's just really incredible. And so I want to touch on that for a second. Because these things do not have mortgage payments, the reverse mortgage or the HECM loan does not show up on your credit report, which is amazing because it does not affect your debt ratio. So you get access to a ton of cash. And then if you use it to build an ADU on your rental property, now you can go use that rental property income and you can show a higher increased value on that rental property. And so now you could actually go access some more cash from that to potentially build another ADU on another rental property. So really, by carefully planning and strategizing this loan, you can fund a whole bunch of these ADUs. It's pretty incredible. So what's the next step? Schedule an appointment with me to call and sit down and see if we can make this thing work for you.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Good information. Who doesn't want a loan without a mortgage payment? Fantastic. So we're going to open it up to the Q&A. And we have a question here. It says, Jeremy, is there a minimum FICO score requirement for the reverse mortgage loan?
That's a great question. No, these are not FICO score driven. In fact, they're credit profile driven, not FICO score driven though, as well as there's no debt ratio requirements, which when you're a senior, it's one of the biggest showstoppers is the debt ratio. But yeah, I've had people with 580 credit scores get reverse mortgages. They're just blown away. Like everyone told me no, but with these, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Lenska, do we have to install solar panels on manufactured ADU? At Raphael, do we have to install solar panels on a stick-built ADU?
Thank God somebody read my mind. I said there are two things I forgot to mention, that on the manufactured home, you do not have to install solar panels. And I also forgot to say that you can have the feature of being handicapped ready with wider doors and grab bars and so on, since we're kind of a little bit on that senior trip. But what I always recommend, I have sometimes the main house has already solar panels. There's a chance of increasing the solar panel count to then also feed for the ADU, right? So again, we're coming back to saving money on electricity or saving money for the tenant.
So Raphael, what are the requirements for stick-built?
For this case I presented, I did not have to add solar panel. I think it's because it's attached to the garage and the main house didn't have any solar. I just finished another one in North Tustin that I had to install it. And I think it's because it's detached. So new construction detached. So far, I have the information that we have to do it. And like Lenska said, sometimes the main house has it, and you have to submit all the appliances and all the usage of the energy you have in ADU, so it might fit while they have existing, so you don't have to do when it's attached. So that's what I know so far.
Okay. And Meredith, since you're up on the new rules and regulations, do you have to provide parking spots for ADU residents?
Not if you're within a walking mile of a transit, which is most people.
Okay. And then Jeremy, if you receive funds with a reverse mortgage and you take it lump sum and you get that $200,000 to pay for your ADU, is that income taxable?
That's a good question. No, it's not. It's a loan, so it's not considered taxable. It doesn't affect your taxes. It doesn't affect your tax bracket. It doesn't affect your Medicare or your Social Security either.
Okay, thanks. And then Meredith, I think you touched on this, but about the rules and regulations. Does the ADU increase your property tax? It can maybe like break it down a little bit if it does.
Only it is, your property tax is not reassessed on the existing land and existing house. There is some tax added on the ADU. The tax assessors will tell you to multiply 1% times the construction budget to get your annual tax bill, and then divide it by 12 to get your monthly bill.
Okay. And then both Jeremy and Meredith, if I start a loan process with you, how long does it take till I actually have cash in hand?
Mine is somewhere in the neighborhood of 21 to 30 days, depending on how fast the borrower actually gets us the stuff we need.
Yes, same.
Okay. And then John has a question.
I actually saw one question that was a little bit further back. If I could just interrupt, I apologize. I just
Okay.
didn't want to skip this one. This one was from Abe. He asked, on the HECM loan, what happens if the homeowner wants to move but intends to keep the property or the primary residence as a second home or a rental? So since it has to be your primary residence, if you decide to just turn this into a rental and then you move out, the lender does an occupancy statement every year. And so if that happens and you do decide to not have it be your primary residence anymore, the loan will become due. So they have to do something with it, either refinance or into traditional financing or sell the home. Now, you can keep it as a second home, but we always recommend, if you're going to do something like that, keep this as your primary residence and make the other home your second home. Don't change any of that, because then you don't change any of your financing.
Got it. Okay, John, you have a question?
Yeah, it's for Meredith. You said something earlier about the average costs now for ADUs. I kind of missed that. You were working with numbers in the $200,000 range. Is that what you're finding now for site built project?
For a very, very base level price, yes, on stick built. I mean, that's like no top floor tiling, cement floors, you know, that are epoxied, stuff like that. Yeah.
Would that be geared more towards the PRA, the Prados, the pre-approved?
No, no, just a really, just like a little basic square shack.
As we say in the car industry, a strippy.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that about wraps it up for tonight. We will be sending this out to everyone and also posting on YouTube. So go ahead and share it on all your socials. And we appreciate you. Everyone here is so knowledgeable. I'm super impressed, and I'm sure everyone else was too. And we will have live events in San Diego. And Meredith and I do appear at some home shows all over Orange County, Riverside County, Los Angeles County, and we help people out there. And we'll also do some more webinars for you. So make sure you follow and like when we post this on YouTube and when we provide it to you. Everybody have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank
see
you,
you
guys.
soon. Thank you.
Thank you.